Welcome, everybody. Sorry for the slight delay. Jeff, as usual, was fashionably late, but hey ho. You are watching the Shank Club NFL. We're broadcasting live on Twitter, Periscope, and Twitch. You can follow us on all those avenues at Shank Club NFL, and also we are on Instagram at Shank Club NFL. Now, it's a bit of a different beginning to what we normally have, because I just wanted to say a few words. A lot of you guys know that I started a Just Giving page to help out one of the NFL UK's own, Claire the Bear 85, does the NFL giveaway. She's coming up very shortly. She's going to tell you what is going on with the giveaway this week. But I just wanted to say that I alone started that Just Giving, and I set how much I wanted to raise. Now, I took a lot of flack from a lot of people telling me that we should be giving to charity and it's a luxury item and all things like that. And Claire is very humble. I know that for a fact. And some of the stuff that was rounded at her was quite frankly disgusting. We're going to get into it again a bit later, but I just wanted to thank everybody that donated. So far, we're up to £725, and a sizable donation will be going to the Macmillan Cancer Charity. So it's not Claire milking it and getting a state-of-the-art laptop and nothing else is happening. There is going to be charity donations as well. So anyone that trolled, now you know the truth. Let's get into the show. Pete, hit it. Welcome. We are the Shank Club NFL. There you go. I feel a lot better getting that off my chest. And as Scott says just in the comments, don't bring it up, Pete. Trolls are going to troll. But at the end of the day, we did this for one of our own. And that is the main thing you need to worry about. Anyway, Happy New Year, everyone. Pete is back. He didn't join our Boxing Day show because he was on family commitments. And now he's back. He was hungover yesterday. In fact, I don't think he actually made it out of anywhere yesterday. I probably got one message saying that he was in a bad way. And that's very unlike Pete because he does like to troll me a lot in WhatsApp, but he didn't. Pete, talk to me, man. How was your New Year? How was your Christmas? Is everything okay at Bentman Towers?
It's actually Bentingham Palace, not Bentman Towers, but either way, man. I love you. Happy New Year to you and everybody. Nick, want to say thank you for everybody to come on the Boxing Day show. I know it is hard with the holidays, getting away from your family. So thanks, everybody. And big shout out to Freddie, who had the Pittsburgh Steelers back and had my back as well, because he took some flack on that show. So really want to say thanks to Freddie. But yeah, it's been good, Nick. As you said, got a little bit sort of heavy New Year's Eve evening. All of a sudden, getting nearly to the ripe old age of 40, hangovers become 2-day hangovers, and I'm not enjoying that one little bit, but I guess that's what it is. But just going back to what you were saying at the beginning of the show there, Nick, you don't need to say anything, mate. We all know that what you did to raise money to help Claire to get her a new laptop and to raise money for charity was out of the kindness of your heart. So don't worry about anything, Nick. You're a good lad. And like I say, people are going to hate if they want to hate. But the people that knew exactly what you were doing donated well, and just want to say thank you very much for everyone for doing that. So it's a really nice thing you did there, Nick. Well done, mate.
Well, you know me, and we've met Claire. We know what a fantastic person she is and what she does and what she's been through. And I just felt like, you know, we got to do something. And it was Christmas after all. So anyway, enough of that. Right. Pete, we got a great slew of guests coming on. So let's get them on. Whichever way you want to go, let's get them on.
Well, the one and the only Coach Jeff Reinbold. Happy New Year to you, Jeff. It's good to see you again. How you doing?
Happy New Year to you guys and to the Shank Club and all the Shank Club visitors and listeners and everybody out there. It's going to be the start of a great 2021, I hope.
I think so.
Let's hope so. Jeff, you've got to send me that recipe first for your risotto because that looked absolutely fantastic. Don't keep that yourself.
I'll tell you what, man. I know my way around in the kitchen now. I'm going to tell you something. I love to cook, and anytime you guys are in this neighborhood, if you want a dinner, come on, stop by, and we'll hook you up because, like I said, that's one of the joys I have in life is when you get a chance to share food and a good glass of wine with people that you care about. So you guys are always welcome.
Good thing is, Jeff, we know where you live. We've got your address, so that's fine.
I know that. That's how I got my Shank Club mug.
That's pretty scary as well. Nick knows your address. He is going to be stalking you forever now, Jeff. Another amazing guest that we've been trying to get on the Shank Club NFL for a little while. Let's welcome Phoebe to the show. Phoebe, how you doing?
Hi, I'm well, guys. How are you?
Yeah, we're doing great. I say it's been trying to sort of get you on after I did my sort of girls only show with Susanna and Claire a little while back, and they introduced me to who you were and what you were doing. And to be fair, it was kind of like opened my eyes a little bit. So I have to say that they were kind of the instigators for us to sort of keep our eyes on what you're sort of doing. And you're doing a lot of great stuff in football, and to see you on Sky and Jeff the other day sort of tearing up, I mean, that was a pretty sort of magical moment in NFL, and it just shows how far everything's sort of come now in the game, that people like yourself are right up there in the sort of pinnacle of the game. So a lot of respect goes out to you, Phoebe.
Thank you so much. And, I know Jeff and I have talked about this before, but it's thanks to people like Jeff, people like yourselves that are wanting to share the stories of people like Claire, Susanna, myself. And the more we can make this normal, we don't have to make a big deal about gender is the day that we're successful. So thank all of you guys for everything that you do.
You're very welcome.
That's why we kind of put this show together, Phoebe, because obviously watching that hit that Jeff did, it does make you realise that it isn't a male sport, etc. And, we are all for diversity on this show, and it opens my eyes, it opens Pete's eyes, and I hope it entertains our viewership that we've got. And really looking forward to talking to you.
Me too.
And talking of ladies on the show, Susanna, great to have you back on the show with us again. Obviously, you were on last week doing the Boxing Day show, so thank you very much. How are you doing? You've had a nice New Year?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's great to be back on the show. I feel like a regular, part of the family, which is lovely. It's always great to chat to other people who just love ball and, getting some fun chat going. So, yeah, really great to be back. New Year was quiet. I'm a lightweight, I'm sorry. I was in bed by 10:30.
Oh, I'm not going to be inviting you to the next New Year's Eve party then, Susanna, if you're going to be a party pooper.
I could literally sleep anywhere. So I probably would actually be sleeping standing up with a drink in my hand.
Good.
I actually probably made up for you because I'm very old and I managed to do 12 hours in a virtual dance festival. Finished off with Graham Park doing the Hacienda Classical and then doing a 2-hour set. So that's how I saw the new year in Bloody Marys. And it was, to me, after all that went on in 2020, that was the best way I could think of going out of this year, thankfully.
No, 2020's over. 2021, bring it on.
Nice. Pete, who's up next?
It is our favourite Claire de Beer, and I would imagine you were probably dressed something like that on New Year's Eve as well, Claire. I reckon, am I right?
I mean, given half a chance to put this on, I will put it on, yes.
I'm not even sure if you even need half a chance. I mean, I'm sure you open the wardrobe and there is nothing but Chicago Bears outfits in there, I'm sure.
It's an 80-20 split, yes.
What, of home and away? Claire, it's great to have you on the show. Obviously, Chicago Bears are winning the hunt, so I know you're going to be very excited tomorrow, and really appreciate you being on the show. And obviously,
Just keep everything crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be a few nervous people watching some NFL football tomorrow, that's for sure. And I think you're going to be one of them.
I mean, I have to thank the Bears because my bottom is so toned because I clench for like 3 hours constantly during Bears games.
Too much, and people say I give too much away. Wow.
Yeah, that's enough talking of bottom clenching for one show. And Nick, and we've also got one of your Niner friends going to join us today as well. If you want to introduce your friend there.
There she is. Right. And I got touched and she told me off, no less, because I said she was from New York City, but she isn't from New York City. She's from New Jersey. And I got told off. Properly told off. New Jersey in the building. NJ, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, we're all good. We're all good. We're looking forward to talking some football, and it's going to be great. Got a lot of subjects to get through. First, we need to talk about the latest of Claire the Bears NFL giveaways. So, Claire, the platform is yours. Please let everybody, because you did say on Twitter that people would have to watch this show to find out what the latest giveaway was because you didn't have time to do it. So, Claire, it's all yours. Let us know what you are doing for the latest giveaway.
So, usually week 17, I take the week off. It's my bye week and I get ready for the pro season. But because sadly we have the passing of NFL alumni and Hall of Famer Kevin Green not only a week ago, I thought it was only right to see him off in style. He is a player that I have met and I've got an autograph by him, which I will show you along with something else and a little story about this. And we are so privileged here in the UK to get London games, to have access, not only to just, they don't just trot out the backup quarterback or, you know, they are bringing legit legends. I've met Jim Kelly, you know, and things like I could list off, we could be here for an hour. We could do a show at Shank Club for players and stories of Claire for Giveaway HQ. And that's not what I want it to be about. He was an utter legend. Not only did he sign this Rams Hall of Fame card when we were at the Twickenham game, but he saw that I had a mini ball in my bag. He took it out of my bag, signed it, and then cupped my hands with the things. He had like dinner plate hands. I've never seen a man with bigger hands. Held my hand and told me that autograph has to be used for the Packers because obviously he won a Super Bowl with them, but doing linebacking. And then we had an 8-minute chat about how brilliant Brian Urlacher was and how they had to plan for him constantly and you're like, wow, you know. So we're going to see him off in style, but also just as a side note, because I won't be able to put this up on Twitter, I've only got so many words available, managed to go to an NFL UK event where Greg the Leg Urlacher was at, but because he was exclusively signed under Panini, he wasn't allowed to give any autographs out at the event. But he did give me a Rams t-shirt. So I won't be able to put up in the giveaway that this was donated by Greg the Leg. But if you watch the Shank Club, you will know that this was donated by him. So thank you so much, for that. And hopefully the Rams don't make the playoffs. There are, I do want it to tip in the Bears' favour, but we will see this guy off in the best possible manner that I can here. And Packers fans, yes, you will get some Kevin Green love as well, because I cover every team here. Everyone has to get, regardless of what my personal feeling is, everyone has to get some love. So over to you guys.
So look out for that. Claire will put the tweet out when the giveaway starts in her own usual way. I did actually jokingly say to her that I wasn't going to let her do that little bit because it was the Rams, and obviously being a 49ers fan. As it's Claire, of course.
And if you get a chance, please watch his Hall of Fame inductee speech, because it's in the top 5 of my personal favourite Hall of Fame inductee speeches. It's absolute, it's gripping and heart move. It's just wow. So gone way too soon. So
definitely. So there you go. So that, if you want to do the NFL giveaway from Claire the Bear, she will be putting a tweet out after the show. So get on that. You know what you've got to do. You've got to follow her and tag NFL giveaway, so she's even got the ball there. Look, how prepared is she? Right, Pete, let's find out some more about our guests. Who would you like to find out about first? I'll let you choose.
Well, I've been waiting for a long time to have a chat and sort of speak with Phoebe, so I'd like to sort of jump straight in and get things sort of going. Obviously, Nick, you sent me a link earlier on to the Duke, so maybe we could sort of talk about obviously what Phoebe's sort of trying to do over here with her pal regarding the Dukes, and maybe sort of explain to everybody what that's all about, Phoebe.
Yeah, of course. So basically, the Dukes essentially is a company that is community-based and all about growing American football. But we're trying to inspire people using American football as a tool. One of probably our most recent things that's come out of COVID is that we've actually written a children's book all about flag football. And I'm so excited about it also, not because it finally gives kids, kind of your primary age children, a book that explains the sport, because I think some adults probably like the idea that it's not just about contact. There is another non-contact version, but there's a female lead. And for me, I think that's so important to have female leads in children's books, let them know that, they can be anything, they can achieve whatever it is that they put their minds to. So that's probably the most exciting thing, at least that's come out of COVID. But the rest of it is all about, doing camps and clinics, really trying to share the knowledge that myself and my colleague Kenny Bello have. He's our GB women's receivers coach. He's played for GB contact students and flag for years now. And then also sharing my experience, obviously, with as a player, of course, but through the Bills and through college and all of that sort of thing, and really trying to see how we can relate it and grow the game. And, some of that's starting with schools, because we know that from a young age, we want to be introducing this amazing sport. I know, even talking to all of you guys, a lot of us have said, gosh, I wish we knew about this sport when we were younger, or we were playing when we were younger. So we're trying to kind of introduce it to everyone. Exactly, Claire, at a young age. So yeah, we're really, really thrilled about it. We're excited for what 2021 will hold for us and just for growing the sport. I think it's also looking at what the UK specifically is doing with their connections, whether it is with the CFL. We're also trying to create more relationships and create kind of mentorship programs to help other coaches. I specifically focus on the female side, but creating these pathways for people so that everyone gets these incredible opportunities that, myself and Kenny and others have had the opportunity to have.
That's great. What is the sort of overall sort of objective here? Is it sort of to try and eventually sort of build and have a real sort of sustainable league, maybe like the sort of CFL or something like that in the UK? Is that kind of what your optimum goal is, or is this just something that you're just trying to just throw to as many people and give as many opportunities as you can to other people, or is the goal to really sort of try and sort of bring American football to be a full-on sort of sport over here in the UK that we can. I mean, some of us take it seriously already, but I hate to say it still isn't taken, seriously. Unfortunately, here.
Yeah, and it's probably a mixture of everything, but really making it so it's a sport that you can get in American football at a sporting goods store. That it's not such a random thing. I've seen a couple times now driving through London or anything like that where I've seen kids in the park and they're playing flag football. The idea is giving, especially as a Dukes in terms of trick shots and things like that, what can you do with a football? Because most people see it, especially children, and they just want to kick it. They think that's where it belongs. So, just trying to really give people things to do with it. But we'd love to see the game grow at all levels. And then from the UK and have that kind of spread across Europe. I think we're kind of at the forefront of it with the buy-in from the NFL and all these incredible other organizations. So I think we kind of start here, pilot a program, and then continue its growth. And also, I think giving people youth clubs like they used to have back in the day, somewhere, a safe space for kids to go that gives them somewhere where they can play sport or do things with intention, instead of having them on the streets as much.
Yeah. Go on, Nick.
That's cool to hear. I'm looking at your website now, and the hook line: do ridiculous, be humble. Pete does that every week, especially with that fake fire he's got behind him. Talk to me very quickly about your book that's on Amazon, Eden and the Dukes. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, so you can get that on Amazon, like you said, and that's our kids' book all about flag football. It's in 4 languages at the moment, and we're still translating it. So I think we've got it in Portuguese, Spanish. It will be in German, and obviously English as well. But yeah, get it, just check it out. We want to hear your feedback as well. We've been donating a whole bunch to schools, especially now when they've got more time with the kids on Zoom. It's been a great way to read to them. But yeah, it just, I hope kids read it or adults read it and they see that, don't be afraid to take chances, because that's what our main character in this book does. She hears this crazy sport in the park and thinks, oh, I want to try that out. And it kind of follows her on this journey of what it's like trying something new and meeting new people.
Well, as soon as I come off with this, I'm going to get 2 copies for my niece and nephew and give it to them straight away, because it sounds like a story that they sort of need to be sort of reading and listening and sort of growing their inspiration, that's for sure. Because that would be amazing to sort of think that, my kids, for example, I've met through NFL UK, and these group of people could sort of grow up and potentially sort of do something that they sort of believe in. That would be cool. And yeah. Maybe perhaps let everybody know sort of where they can sort of find the sort of Dukes, maybe sort of websites and social media sites.
Yeah, definitely. So everything is literally the UK Dukes, whether it's ukdukes.com or on Twitter or Instagram. And also, if anyone has any questions or anything we can ever help people with regarding the sport or finding a team, we'd love to direct you to the nearest club and get you involved, whether it's, referee, player, admin, whatever it is that you want to do, we'd love to get you involved.
That's cool. If the Shank Club NFL, I was going to say, Nick, if the Shank Club NFL can be of any help to you, please give us a shout. We'll always play our part and do what we can for you here, Phoebe. So don't be afraid to shout us out, and we'll be here. We'll help. Whatever you need from us, just let us know.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, guys.
No, it's fantastic having you on. And we'll talk some more slightly in a little while. NJ Niner, 49er Izzy, tell me, you're out in New Jersey. How did you become a fan of the greatest franchise in NFL history?
Okay, as a kid, I saw Jerry Rice flight in the 90s, and I was sold. It's that simple.
So it wasn't the fact of the colours and the tight gold pants. It was just Jerry Rice catching everything everywhere, and that hooked you.
Jerry Rice and Steve Young. They were like Superman. Like, as a kid, you buy like comics like Batman and Superman, and that was for me, Batman and Superman on the field.
I wish those days would return. I wish those days would return. We almost got there last year. But yeah,
it's
Hey, at least it
been-
wasn't the fade again. I could not stand hearing the word fade for about a good 5 years after Crabtree. So
Yeah, we don't talk
whatever
about.
else happened against Mahomes, at least it wasn't the fade.
That's very true. That's very true. And of course, we do have our resident zebra, and she told me off for calling her our resident zebra. So, Susanna, tell me, how did you get into A, refereeing, and B, your team? In case people haven't seen you on here before, obviously.
Well, hello to everybody watching Shank Club this week. It's great to be back on the show. Thanks for inviting me back, Nick and Pete. Well, I guess the teams first, because, you know, I've only been an official since 2013, but I've been a Titans fan since 98. Yeah, and Jeff's smiling at that already because he probably knows why 98 was a special year for the Titans. Or 98, 99. So, you know, rolling back to that time, I'd moved in with my husband. Was he my husband then? No, he wasn't my husband then, but we were engaged, so it's all right. You know, we got a bit of money together so we could afford to get a Sky subscription. So we whacked that on and we start realising that we're both American football fans. So, you know, we're sitting down to watch and we really haven't picked a team, either of us. We're just fans of the sport. So because we're sort of together and we're choosing a team that year, you know, the Titans really inspired us. They were different in a world of big bombs down the field and all of that, you know, the thrills and excitement. We were actually really inspired by that grit, that pound and grind in the middle, the sort of devious little strategies. Yeah, we loved that. You know, you've got Steve McNair, bless his soul. You've got Eddie George, who literally went every down 3.5 yards average, which was exactly enough to get a first down in 3 downs. And we do that all day, every week. And, you know, that's the sort of thing we were watching. So we loved that. Then, of course, we get on to the real moment in history, which is called the Music City Miracle. And I guess that's perhaps where my sort of a little spark of an idea of officiating came in as well, because as well as the play being utterly insane, you know, that lateral that was, you know, just unexpected, that bomb down the field from a guy who you're like, what? But you did discover that he had played QB at some point in his career. And that totally undefendable play, how long did they spend on that? At least 7 minutes arguing about whether that was a forward pass or a backward pass, right? And of course, the commentators had everything to say about it. They drew lines on the field, you know, this camera angle, that camera angle. Everybody had an opinion about it. And I think that was a sort of start of that sort of idea of going, right, okay, well, you know, I've got an opinion about it as well. So, you know, that was my passion for the Titans, absolutely wound up, you know, and bless you, Izzy, bless you, Nick, you know, like you, I've sort of gone from that hero to zero in the intervening years, and hopefully we're sort of bouncing back. So yeah, that's where Titans came from. It's a bit of a weird one. I mean, Tennessee, it's an interesting place. We've been there once because we had to go and see our Titans in real time, you know, live. So we headed out there one year. And it's like Nashville. It's like if a shop is not selling cowboy boots, then they're a bar with an open mic. It's either music or Jesus. That is Nashville, and football.
Nick, sounds like our sort of place.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Great
it
food as
sounds
well. I mean, just, yeah. And it is beautiful. It's all farmland around there, lovely people. We felt so welcome. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
So tell me, how did you get to be a zebra? Because I'm really intrigued about this.
So you won't believe this, but it's all got to do with Sainsbury's. So I'll start that's the middle of the story, you see. Like, so wind back a little bit. You know, me and my husband go to the Wembley Games when they're on there. We're there, and you know, you get the commemorative brochure. You know, you're browsing through that at halftime, and right in there was a article about refereeing in the UK. And I said to my husband, I wonder about that. I'll investigate that afterwards. But, you know, you get home, you know, that's aside somewhere and you don't get around to it, do you? But one day I'm getting my shopping delivered. No, it would have been Tesco's, not Sainsbury's. Other supermarkets are available. So the guy's delivering and, you know, he's brought my shopping into the kitchen and he's just waiting there. And he's seen the commemorative flags that you always get at a game. And we've just got them up on display in the hallway there. And he says, oh, are you American football fans? And I said, yeah. You know, we go to Wembley every time. We love it. Me and my husband. And I said, you know, I was thinking about maybe becoming a referee. And he said, oh, brilliant. Right, this Sunday, come down. We're playing at Surrey University, which is about 10 minutes drive from my house. We're there Sunday, 2 p.m. Go to the reception and ask for where the field is, because we won't know what field it's on until we get there. It turns out he's an assistant coach for the Surrey Stingers, who are one of the best uni teams in this area. So I just head down there. You know, they're on the shittiest, excuse my French, field, like the worst rugby field left over, with a quagmire at one end and the derelict cricket pavilion for a changing room. You know, I'm exaggerating. Surrey Uni sports facility is state of the art. It's amazing. So I get down there and, I just ask, I am interested in refereeing. Can you introduce me to the refs? And they point me in the direction. So I go and introduce myself and never turn back.
It's great
Tell
to
me,
hear.
how long? Sorry, Pete. How long did it take to get that all-female? I know, obviously, you did the first game with the all-female crew, but how long did it actually take to get to that point from when you first started to that time? Was it quite a big process, or was it quite quick? How did that sort of come about?
So that was 2013, and we had that all-female crew earlier this year. And we were almost there a couple of years beforehand, but one of the team got injured, so we called it off that week. We were going to do it like a few weeks later, but then another member of the team, she was from Spain, and she went back to Spain. So it sort of was almost there, and then it wasn't. But I always had it in my heart, that we would do it. About a year before we actually did it, what I realised was that what we had was the right number of officials, but what we needed is to get us all experienced at different positions on the field. because much like the players, each position has a different specialism, what we're looking for, what we need to be doing in terms of the administration of the game and so on. And what we didn't have was an experienced head referee. Alicia Cockrell, now Darkin, is our most experienced official. I just looked at her and I thought that she's the one. She's the most experienced. We'll all look up to her. She's the leader amongst us. And I said to her at the convention, I said, you know, you're ready for referee, right? And she said, oh, I don't know. I'm a bit nervous about it. And I said, what you need to do is you get with your dad. And the thing is, right, Alicia's like third generation. Her dad and her granddad still officiate. So I said, you get with your dad and you work out a game that you're going to be confident on. You get him on umpire, so like you're right opposite each other, and he'll help you out. He'll look after you. So she went back to her dad and said, you know, we do this. And yeah, like 3 weeks later, she did her debut at head referee, and she loved it. And then when it came round to the day, she was an utter diamond. So one of the things we always have is a pre-game. We do this on every game. But what we decided to do was all the girls would get together the night before, and we'd have our pre-game the night before. And she'd planned out challenging questions, video replay, like a little get to know, because none of us had ever actually officiated with any of the others. So we're all like new. We've got to build a team in a day. And she'd got this all sort like, yeah, we just absolutely gelled, and it's all down to her. So big props to Alicia.
That's
Susanna,
awesome.
I was just going to say, Susanna, if obviously people want to get involved with officiating, tell everybody exactly how they can do that.
So the best thing to do is to go straight to our website. That's www.bafra.info, and just hit the how to join page and then complete the form. So when you complete the form, somebody from the recruitment team will call you back, and then you can ask all the questions you want to ask about how it all works, and you go from there. You're in a very short period of time, you'll have a mentor, and then you start your training.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, I know we haven't got Phoebe for long because she's got another call she's got to do, because she's a very important person, obviously, and I'm so pleased that we got her on our show. So before she disappears, and then we'll go around the hall, and then Jeff has actually been really, really quiet for a change, makes a change. Question I want to ask, and I'll start with Phoebe, and then we'll just go around the hall. Is it right to rest players for week 17 games? Do you think it's right? And if you don't, do you think the NFL should look at this, because it's robbing? I know there's no fans in the stadium at the moment, but obviously the TV audience, etc. Do you think it's right that they rest players, or do you think that it's not an issue? Phoebe, what do you think?
I think every week, every NFL team is planning to win that week. Nobody wants to go into the game with any other goal in mind. I think that what happens when you're in the game, for example, you've got someone that's telling you situations, you've got people that are kind of basically giving you your chances. Let's say if you fall behind, what you need to do to get ahead. I think what could potentially happen is, if you're feeling like you're going to make it into the playoffs, or you're already in the playoffs, you might start looking into taking off those veteran players, or those guys who, potentially might be a bit more prone to injury. But to be honest, at least in my experience, there's not been many times that someone's heard, X, Y, or Z is hurt right now, or, they've known they have these injuries leading up to the game. They've done everything as possible. The trainers are talking to the coaches. Unless it's a really severe injury, or, obviously something where they need to come off, a lot of times you probably wouldn't end up with that situation. So, I understand in terms of resting players if you're looking for the next game and in the playoffs. and I can also see the fans' point of view where you want to see the best game of American football possible. But I think at the end of the day, you want to win that game, and you're going to do what you can to win the game, obviously keeping your players as safe as possible.
So if you were a coach, i.e. like Tomlin or even the Bills coach, would you sit your star players this week, bearing in mind of what's going on next week for the Wild? Because me personally, I would not rest players because I think it becomes a bit sanitized when you do things like that. And like, I want to see the Steelers lose because Pete supports the Steelers. But if Cleveland beat the Steelers with their starters, it's a hollow victory. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I get that, but I'm also like, a victory is a victory, and those are really hard to come by in the NFL. And I think you've also got the perspective of the players where, you know, a lot of these guys want to go into these games and they want to win. And if you're looking at the entire team, you know, I'm not saying sit every single veteran player, and a lot of your backup guys at this part in the season, and with everything with COVID this year, really a lot of them should be kind of up to speed for the most part. You know, I always look to my Bills as an example, but there's a lot of interchangeable players there that you can throw one in and take another guy out. But that's actually almost a game plan, really, because now you're giving the other team more people to have to create matchups for, or game plan for. So it almost becomes its own tactic within itself. But I think when you're creating a game plan, you're looking at who you are creating those matchups against, which players are going to outplay the other guys. And yeah, you've got an idea of who's next, and you hope that your depth chart doesn't drop. There's not that much of a difference between your first string and second string, but you're planning to win the game. You're not going to go in there with another mindset of just, you know, getting by.
That's interesting. That's a very good take on that. Phoebe, I know you got to go because in 4 minutes you got another call. Pete and I, Jeff, everyone on this show, we really, really seriously appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. Once we get into maybe the playoffs or something, we'll give you, if the Bills carry on, which I'm pretty sure they will, I'll send you a DM. We'll get you back on. I really appreciate your time, Phoebe, and I know Pete does, and Claire, Susanna, Jeff, and NJ49. Thank you so much for spending a bit of time with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. And I love what you're doing. And, you know, anybody out there, make sure you follow everyone that's on here because they all have such incredible, unique journeys. So thank you for everything that you do within the sport, because it's all of you guys that are role models out there that are getting other people involved. So I thank all of you for everything that you're doing.
And don't forget Eden and the Dukes on Amazon. Children's book. Go get it now. Phoebe.
Much love. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Take care. Nice to meet you.
There you go. That's Phoebe. Don't forget, check her book out. Check her website out, thedukes.com. Jeff.
It's been very patient, hasn't it, today?
And as I said, you're a superstar, and we love you on the Shank Club. And this is the most you've ever been quiet. So, Jeff. Jeff, what do you think about resting players, and should the NFL look into this? Because I've heard rumours that either the NFLPA or the league are going to look into the fact that people are resting players, and it doesn't create the spectacle that they want.
Well, I think it's a really interesting topic because the NBA had this issue, and they actually stepped in and made guys play. Because, you know, I think they play 85 games a year or some crazy thing like that. And obviously they're fatigued at the end of the season. I don't particularly think that the league should meddle in that kind of stuff because it's actually a strategic thing that each club has control over. So, for example, if you're and like Atlanta's out of the, you know, playoff picture, but I think they're going to hold Julio Jones, or they shut Julio Jones down for the rest of the year. They should have the right, in my opinion, they should have the right to do that, because they may want to look at a different player. There may be other reasons why they choose to make that decision. And to me, for the league to step in and say, well, you should play that guy because, we're trying to make, fans happy or whatever. I just don't know if I agree with that. I think that's a little bit, that's too much like a dictatorship. When you have a football team and you only play 16 times, obviously those are precious opportunities to get on the field. And say, for example, like your team, Nick, San Francisco, right now you have no chance of making the playoffs, right? So as you go into this last game, what do you want to get out of this last game, all right? Well, there's certain guys that what they are, and they're not going to change by playing one more game. So all you're doing is you're exposing them to potential risk. And this is what people have to understand. This isn't basketball. This isn't baseball. This isn't soccer. This isn't this is a dangerous, violent game. And it would be absolutely unthinkable to me that you would put one of your franchise players out and expose him to risk and possibly lose him in a game that's really a meaningless game. So, for example, let's take a guy like Kittle. If they decided to shut Kittle down for the rest of the year because he's come back off that knee now or whatever that lower leg injury he had, I think that's both Shanahan's and John Lynch's right to do that, because he's an asset of theirs. He doesn't belong to the fans. He belongs to the 49ers. And if he would go out there and get hurt, and like I say, in this game, you can get hurt and you never play again. What sense does that make to the 49ers from a strategic standpoint? So like Cole Beasley's nicked up right now in Buffalo, and he's not going to play in this last game. And he should. He could probably, if it was the Super Bowl, he'd probably be out there playing. But he shouldn't play in this game because he's an important part for them going forward. And that's where I think the league has got to understand that professional football is a completely unique sport. There's no other sport that is as violent, that is played as few times as ours is. And I just think that it's I think that conceptually I get it, right? You want the best product on the field but what's the bottom line is this then? So what you're saying to me is this, and when a commissioner makes, or somebody in football makes that kind of comment, then they're saying the money that we make is more important than the players who play the game. And if you're willing to say that, come out right out and say it, that, hey, Julio Jones, you're nicked up, but you got to play because whatever advertiser, whatever sponsor, whatever, we get pushback from them if you don't play. Well, then just say to the players, hey, money's more important than you are. That's just the way it is. And it is, but I don't agree in it. I don't agree with it.
That's very interesting. You mentioned George Kittle, obviously, because both me and Izzy are Niner fans. And I was surprised last week they brought him back. But you could see what an asset he was when they did. And he went part of the way to that result against Arizona. I mean, he had a big game. What do you think, Izzy? Did you agree that they should have brought Kittle back last week, or should they have, like with Sherman and a few of the others, just shut him down and he was done for the season, like they've done Garoppolo, Mostert, and all that? What was your feelings when you saw that George Kittle was going to be on the field last week?
We're just talking any player, or just specifically Kittle? Because those are two whole different arguments for me. All right, for Kittle, then, my issue is I do not trust Budda Baker whatsoever. He's faced him twice before this past week, and both times he's had injuries. So for me, that was scarier than the potential of getting hurt. because every time Kittle had played Buda Baker before, he had a new injury. So for me, that was scarier than him just getting some random injury. Thankfully, he did not go against Buda Baker much, and thankfully he didn't get injured this past week. But like Shanahan and so many people said, I dare anyone to try to tell George Kittle to sit when he's healthy and he wants to play.
I guess,
So-
yeah. He's a big personality. He wants to play. Obviously, they've sacked Garoppolo. Apparently, he's fit. He's been training. So it's a weird. It's a strange one. We've actually just got some.
It's different though. You can't really say, oh well, George Kittle is the franchise tight end. He just got paid. He should sit because the Niners aren't going to the playoffs. I mean, my fears for that one specific player and that one specific matchup are different from the Week 17 thing, because Week 17 you had all the Raven players that are major players for them last year sit. Week 17, not one of them played against I think it was the Steelers, or I can't remember who the hell they played last year. But do you remember when they finally played the Titans? All of them looked rusty because they had sat. So you can avoid injury, but then your players are rusty for when they finally do get to play in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's pretty much what Mark was just saying in the comment there. Obviously, with the Ravens doing it last season and they're sort of playing the playoffs, but I don't know how much you can look into that. I don't know whether sort of Jeff would have a better answer, whether that is
and then
the fact that they came up against a very, very good Titans team, or whether it was just the fact that they were a little bit sort of rusty because they've had a break. I mean, I can't say they can be rusty after a break.
They hadn't played for like 3 weeks by that point because they had rested Week 16 because they were 14-2. Some of them had rested 16, 17, the bye week, and then they were just playing against the Titans.
That's kind of a difference when you get the bye week and then you rest your players Week 16 and then they're off the bye week. So now they really have been 3 weeks without game. So that's probably too long. I think if you look at the statistics will tell you that typically you're not going to play well after 2 weeks off. 1 week off is a different thing. Think about your team, Pete. They lost their bye week, and they had because of COVID and all the other stuff they've had to do. And they need, particularly their older players, they need time off. They need to get their bodies healed up. And after 16 weeks of NFL football or professional football, everybody's sore, everybody hurts, everybody's nicked up. And so you take a guy like Pouncey or TJ Watt, who's such a critical part of their team, and he dinged his knee last week, right? Mm-hmm. Not enough that he couldn't play this week, but he will play better if he's healthy. And by playing him this week, then all you do is expose him to that risk, and now you put the entire team at risk. That's the part of it that the NFL has got to understand is, when you start mandating that guys have to play, now you put the team at risk.
Yeah, there's plenty of ways to look at it. That's for sure. And I think certainly taking the players' health and everything has to be the top priority. But there's going to be one team and one franchise which is going to be more than happy that players are being sacked this weekend, and that's going to be the Cleveland franchise and the Cleveland fans, because they're going to have a great chance to come by and beat the Steelers. Nick, what's up, buddy? You sound like you put your hand up.
Breaking news. Well, it was an hour ago. Breaking news. The Cleveland Browns have again closed their facility due to new positive coronavirus cases amongst their coaching staff. No, that's literally just, I've just seen that come up, and the UK Steelers put, oh dear. So
that's the third time for you guys that you got screwed by coronavirus from another team.
So what? That's pretty much game's going to be over now. If the facilities are closed today, does that mean there's no chance we get a game tomorrow?
That's not true. That's not true at all. The Niners-Packer game had to happen on Thursday after that whole tiff up on Wednesday with the Packers getting positives and then the Niners having the false positive. Me,
Yeah.
the
It's
Steelers.
a weird one because coaching staff, obviously, they've now got to do close contact stuff with the players. So,
Go on, Claire.
Jeff, you're
Cincinnati-
okay.
Cincinnati's got the same issue. They had a guy
There's
test positive.
32
And,
teams in the league. This
Mhm.
year, the 33rd team was COVID. Whoever wins the Super Bowl will be the team that has planned the best for COVID. And then next year's Super Bowl will be the team that has planned the best for the salary cap to go down. And the backroom staff will see who wins next year's Super Bowl, in my opinion.
It's crazy. It's crazy because Jeff, you're a coach. If
Mhm.
you were, and by the way, well done for being retained next year with Hamilton.
Thank you.
Enough respect. If you were in that situation where you were on the Browns coaching staff in this thing and you tested positive, would there be a way that they could remotely do it with earphones or phones or watching the game from home? How, if you were in that situation, do you think there is a way to work out?
Firstly, do I think there's a way from a technological standpoint to do it? Yes. But the league is very, very specific about the number of communications that go on, and how it's done and what types of equipment you use and all of it. They monitor that very, very closely. So it wouldn't be like you could be a defensive coordinator and call the defenses from your couch at home. That, they wouldn't, I'm sure they wouldn't let you do that because of, issues that that are related to, their licensing and how they work and all that other stuff. But it's interesting. Cincinnati had a player test positive, and, there's talk about what happens if 10 of their players are close contact guys the day before a game. And the league is determined that, I think they set an arbitrary number, I think. Don't quote me on this, but I think the number was 11. The practice rosters now, the roster is expanded to, there's 69 guys around. There's never been that many around the facilities. And they've done it specifically for COVID-19, for these kinds of situations. Like happened to Cleveland, I guess it was 2 weeks ago when they lost all their receivers. Like Claire said, this is the Wild West. I mean, we have no idea. And, you go, the common perception was, well, you only can get COVID if you're out amongst people. That's not true. And, they test, the NFL does 44,000 COVID tests a week. 44,000 a week. That's how tightly they monitor this thing. But you're a coach and you stop at a gas station to get gas, and the virus is on the gas, the gasoline thing, and then you put it in your car, and then you put your finger in your eye, within 6 minutes after doing your gas, you can get COVID from that. So, I mean, it's almost like you can't.
Yeah.
Who knows what we're going to have going
Sometimes
in? I am absolutely sure we're going to have more of it. And
you
this
can't
is
delay the inevitable sometimes, right?
Pardon me?
You can't delay the inevitable with.
Well, Pete, I think
Nick,
I think what's going to be interesting is the league has come out and said that you cannot bubble your team, right? Because the Players Association doesn't want that, right? So they don't want that fight with the Players Association. So they said no bubbles for the team. Well, think about that. Sean Payton. Sean's been in New Orleans, been banging on the table like Khrushchev with his shoe since week 2, saying we need to bubble our teams at the playoffs. Because imagine if you're Kansas City and one of those kids gets it, and it's the day before the game, and let's say he's a receiver, and now all of a sudden you've lost your entire receiving core and Kelsey. I mean, are you kidding me? That's how goofy this is.
Has this not been the whole story of the season? Some teams are going to get it bad and they're going to have to play a game without major players, and it just shit happens. It's a horrible thing to say, but if that happens, it's going to happen. We've all had to deal with it all season, and
yeah, but that's why when you saw what Dwayne Haskins did, that's why that was so egregious. It wasn't that he was at a strip club. Christ, guys go to strip clubs, have been going to strip clubs after games for 50 years, right? But it's the fact he's there without a mask on, and when he walks into that building the next day, he puts every one of his teammates at risk. And
it wasn't just that; it was that his head coach also just beat cancer too, and really pissed people off.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that pissed people off about it. Like you say, Ron's a high risk guy anyway because of his cancer issue. But
it was a bad call by a young kid. It was a bad call.
I mean, that doing what he did, and bearing in mind the thin ice he was on, was absolutely crazy. And obviously now he's been booted out. He's cleared waivers. He will get offers because this is the NFL, just like we know with Kareem Hunt and all that kind of stuff that went on. It's really strange. Got a question here, Jeff, from Carl, who's not on today because we had enough thorns with me and Pete. We amongst these roses, we couldn't have any more on. Has Roger Goodell done a good enough job with all the COVID issues?
No.
I think when you say Roger Goodell, I think you're talking about the league. And I don't, like I said, I talked to a friend of mine at the Jets, and he told me how thorough the protocols are and how tightly they monitor everything. I don't know how you could do it any closer. I don't. Before you ever walk in the building, you're tested, right? You're tested every day, twice a day. They've moved the lockers where the lockers are more than 6 feet apart. I mean, they've changed everything to try and match what the disease specialist said was the best environment if you were going to try and have a season. So they spent $160 million just on COVID protocols. The league did. 160 million so that we can watch football. Now, was it perfect? No, but I have a hard time criticizing them when they've been as thorough and worked as hard at it as they have.
Yeah, and I actually agree. I think, when our own governments and world sort of people that run the world can't handle it, the fact that at the beginning of the season, we all thought we're not going to have one, and we're now on week 17 and we've got through it. Yeah, there's been bumps along the road, but Christ, are we not the same as regular people? 1 minute we're going to work, the next minute we're not going to work. This is something that's been thrown at us, and we have no idea how to handle it. I think the NFL and Roger Goodell have got the season done, and they've done one hell of a fucking job to get this done. And I'm quite proud of what they've done. I'm sorry.
Think about it, Pete. This is where it's so different than anything else we've known, right? What did the NBA do to have a season? They lopped off a bunch of teams, right? They didn't bring the entire end. Not everybody. The Cincinnati Bengals of the NBA didn't get to participate. The New York Jets of the NBA didn't get to participate. They brought the best teams together and they put them in a bubble at Disney World, and they played the games the whole deal, right? But you're talking about 15 guys on a team, 5 coaches. You probably got a whole thing of less than 50 people, right? Well, an NFL team, when you go through all the players and all the administration people and the personnel people and the front office people and the trainers and the coaching staffs and you're talking about hundreds of people on every team, right? So there's 32 teams times 200, let's say. Think of the amount of people that they had to take care of and that they had. Now, it's incredible to me that when you start talking about that kind of numbers, that our infection rates are as low as they have been. because they're way, way, way lower than the general population.
Yep.
And they brought us football. They gave us a season, right? Baseball screwed it up. We lost our entire season in the CFL, you know. So I can't get. I mean, sure, can you say, well, they didn't do this and they didn't do that? Think about the job they had to do.
Yeah.
How incredibly big that task was. I think it's amazing that it happened.
Yeah, for sure.
I see down in the bottom down there, Izzy shaking her head. Izzy, what do you think on this scenario about COVID, etc.?
I don't agree at all, actually. I think it's amazing that there's been like you said, it's amazing that so many people involved haven't gotten it, but at the same time, when there was a breakout or if there was a false positive or something else, I don't think the league handled that very well because they didn't want to do a week 18 or postpone a game or do whatever. And then teams like the Steelers, who had maybe one breakout at all, got delayed over how many games? You got the Titans, you were postponed, you lost your bye when you were preparing for them.
Yeah,
The Ravens, you got postponed 3 times when you hadn't done anything wrong. And yet teams like the Ravens didn't get any draft picks taken away when that was put in as a deterrent, remember? They didn't have to play without their players, and yet teams like the Broncos had to play without a single quarterback when that happened with their backup quarterback infecting their locker room. The Niners and the Packers had to play, and then you find out the very next day, a Packer player who played that game, a linebacker, had COVID. So they forced that game to come on that Thursday night football. And I think what really upsets me and many fans like me is that it's all kind of wishy-washy. They choose who to punish, who not to punish. They choose who to postpone, who not to postpone. And I think that is what is very much in their control and is very much
that's the
going
same
at
with
them for.
COVID in general. That's not just in the sport. That is just the issues we've had with this whole COVID from the day one. It's not just NFL. It's not just sport. It's just life in general. It's been messy. It's been taking things day by day, learning something new. It's been difficult. And the fact that they've given us games and sport to watch, I think, is a credit to the NFL and Roger Goodell. And I understand different teams have had it shitty. You know, you guys have had it shitty. So have the Steelers. We're in a good position. You're not. I can understand it's difficult, but it's the season we all had. We all wanted football. We've all got football, and I think we just have to kind of forget about it and just say, "Hey, we're on Sunday." I mean, who's got the worst job? Jeff's now got to rehearse all his new lines because he's been preparing for the Steelers Browns on Sky all week, and now he's going to get a new game, and he's thinking, "Oh, what am I going to do?"
I think if the NFL did it again next year, God forbid it's still the same, I think they'd handle it differently.
I don't, though.
That the NFL had to have this season go ahead because of money, because of TV deals, and they had to get this product out there. It made no difference to whether the Steelers had 10 players out. The Niners have now, they've got players out again this week, and it'll be an all-time record. They've got to put the product out there, and that's the problem, because the NFL can't give that money back to the TV companies because of revenue and all that. And I've said this from week one. We were always going to have a season, however it happened, but the NFL could not pay back that money, like the Premier League paid, right? In this country, the soccer. The season was always going to go ahead. It didn't matter how they did it. They had to do it because they couldn't afford not to. And
you got
to me,
heavy is the head that wears the crown. Like you said, if we get games next season, do the rules change? Whatnot? I don't think we get London games next year because you'd be planning for them now. They have to put stuff in shipping containers now. You know, So do they learn from this? Is 2020 the 2022 when we get back to it? Is 2021 like, right, you have to bubble, and that Roger Goodell takes on the players union and says, look lads, if the army and soldiers and that have to go without seeing players and being bubbled in a sort of not nice way and in larger numbers, if they can do it and they want to earn a ton of money, it's going to be put up or shut up time next year if COVID is still available, because cases are still going up. Not everyone's being vaccinated. Trump didn't order enough, and I don't want to get political, but not enough vaccines out there. So I do think there's going to be a hangover, and the money is going to be less because merchandise, ticket sales has been less. This is only a long-term problem.
Well, I think we've spent a bit of time on COVID. We'll move on to the next subject, but I'll just close it off by saying it has robbed us from seeing some of the best players and people playing second-string quarterbacks, but the Chicago Bears decided to bench their best quarterback by themselves without COVID. So the coaches can make mistakes as well as Roger Goodell, right?
Right, let's talk a few games with playoff implications. Very interesting. There's a few coming up this week. Let's pick a few. Let's just name teams. Let's not go too in depth because we've still got another subject to go to, and I want to get to with Jeff about the bowl games that happened last night. So what are we? Okay, Giants, Dallas. Jeff, one word. Giants, Dallas. Who's going in?
Dallas.
Pete?
Dallas for me.
Susanna?
Don't care, but let's buck the trend and just say Giants for laughs.
Claire?
I was going to go Giants, yeah.
Izzy, who are you taking? Giants, Dallas. Well, I know you're not going to, you cannot pick the arch nemesis that is Dallas.
I'm going to pick the Giants solely because Logan Ryan just got paid and I think he wants to be in the playoffs.
And I will never pick Dallas because I hate Jerry Jones and they are Niners. So, yeah, Giants. Right. Browns and Pittsburgh. Now, obviously, we've heard in the last hour of the issue with the COVID and things, but based purely on players. Pete, I know where you're going to go. Maybe, even though you've got Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer going back up against...
Not today, my friend. Not today.
Pete, what's your thought? Are you going with your team or are you going with the Browns?
Nice. First time I'm going to say it all season, Nick, but I'm going against the Steelers purely because I just feel we are going to be benching some of our main guys. I think the Browns have got everything to play for. I don't know whether their wide receivers are coming back, but they're just going to pound the run game, do what they do best. I know they lost to the Jets last week, but they're going to pound the run game. Our defense is going to just be absolutely gassed. I don't know what's going to go on our offense with Mason Rudolph playing. It'll be interesting to see him play. I just think it doesn't really... Well, I can't say it doesn't mean anything because it's the Browns against the Steelers, but this is going to be the only week you're ever going to hear me say this. I'm backing against the Steelers this week.
Get out. Come on.
I'm going for the Browns.
Yeah, he did it. He did it.
Can I just say, Pete, that was the best one-word answer ever. Jesus.
I had to justify it.
One word.
I have to justify it, dude.
Jeff.
Browns.
Susanna.
Yeah, Browns, all right.
Claire.
Brownies.
Izzy.
Steelers. I do not trust Baker after he just lost to the Jets. The way they lost to the Jets. It's not just that they lost to the Jets, it's the way they lost to the Jets. So,
well,
I'm going Steelers.
My answer won't be a surprise because, as usual, and like the Cincinnati Bengals when they absolutely kicked your arse, Pete, as you know, I'm going Browns all day long, Ivan. I'm on the Ivan train, so Browns get in the playoffs. Finn's Bills. Now, this is an interesting one because, bless him, the king of the no-look pass, Fitzmagic last week. I mean, forget Mahomes' no-look pass.
The bitches only send me a ticket
Probably
number, didn't have to send me an
ultimate
ad.
ever no-look pass last week from Fitzmagic down the sideline. Gets the 15-yard penalty, gets him in field goal range. Tua's on his own this week. Fitzmagic's got COVID, unfortunately. Bills may be resting some players. Pete, one word. Finn's Bills.
Sorry, Mike. Can I just ask Jeff just a quick question? Jeff, that pass from Fitzmagic, was that the play of the season so far?
Yeah, I tell you, when Patrick Mahomes says it's the best no-look pass he's ever seen, I'd say that's a pretty good endorsement.
And he never saw it because he wasn't watching. But yeah, we get it.
Bills. I'm going Bills.
Jeff?
I'm going Bills.
Susanna?
From what I've seen of both teams, there's lots to watch here. I think this is going to be a fun game, but I'll take Bills.
Where?
Bills, they're at home. The weather's going to be a factor.
Snow game, snow game, snow game, snow game.
Lake effect snow, lake effect snow. Now, NJ in the building. Bearing in mind upstate New York, blah, 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 blah. Are you going Bills or are you going Finns?
I'm going Dolphins.
Okay.
They need to get into the playoffs. They're hungry.
I'm going to take the Finns as well. I think Tua needs to put on a show. This Finns
I'm not
team
convinced
will do it. Will they actually do it? We'll see. I don't know. But I just wish Fitzmagic was around. If they make it, obviously, we will see him at some point in the playoffs. So it's going to be an interesting game. Right. Steve Chickens versus San Francisco. Now, this obviously has something to do with the seedings in the NFC. 49ers, more players injured, surprise, surprise. I think we've gone through about 3,500 players now on that roster. I don't know. Pete, Sea Chickens, San Francisco.
Seahawks for me, mate, I'm afraid.
Yeah, there's a surprise. Jeff?
Seahawks.
Susanna?
Well, yeah, I've got a soft spot for the Sea Chickens. My mate Dave Mockler, who I work with, is a Seahawks fan, so I'm going to pick them. Sorry, mate, Nick.
Well
Yeah, you're going down.
Right, that's the last time you were on this show. No, I'm only joking. You said it before. You've got a friend.
Oh, okay, that's war.
Yeah.
Smart money's on the Hawks. Sorry, Nick.
Right, looks like it's me and you, Izzy.
I can't say them. I refuse to say their name. I hate that team more than any other team in the entire league.
Brilliant.
Well, I to be honest, I'm old enough to remember the rivalry of the Cowboys. And really, the Sea Chickens Niners isn't really it's a new rivalry, but it's not the rivalry. But
For me, it's always going to be them. I will never forgive what happened with Navarro Bowman in the NFC Championship game. So for me, it's personal, and I will root for the Cowboys. I will root for 30 other teams. I will never root for the Seahawks, ever.
no, I won't either. I don't care whether it's the Seahawks versus whoever. Jeff Wilson Jr. showed up last week. I think he's going to show out again this week. The 49ers are banged up. CJ came in. He did give us a bit of a lift. But there's no way I would ever pick the Seahawks over the Niners. Okay. Now another one.
Nick, do you want to just remind everybody what you put on the line if
I will.
the Steelers and the Seahawks make it to the Super Bowl? Do you want to let everyone know? Just put it out there.
If, and this is a big if, because it isn't going to happen, and I'm that confident it's not going to happen. If the Seahawks and the Pittsburgh Steelers play in the Super Bowl, I will shave my head to a 0. Now that is not happening. There is no way the putrid Steelers with Dink and Dunk are going to the Super Bowl because they're going to get waxed by the Bills. They're going to get waxed by Kansas City, whoever. And don't forget, Randy Fitcher has been taken off the duty of play calling. He's still on the he's still calling plays. Not going to happen. I'm going to enjoy my head of hair. I love my hair. So I have made that bet with Chickens fan and with Pete. If those two teams make the Super Bowl, it's going to be a good kickoff.
Can Susanna be in charge of the Clippers?
And second, it's not going to happen. You know, God forbid Jesus can come down and shave my head. It's not going to happen. So forget it. There's no way those two teams are going in the Super Bowl.
And just to reply to this comment, I love my hair way too much to ever put a bet on the fact that I'm going to shave my hair, so that's never happening.
Mark, he's got a bet with me that the Steelers go past the wild card, and he was so confident at 11-0 that they were going to get the bye. How did that work out? Anyway,
I wouldn't even wake up in the morning and not brush my hair as a bet.
Well, exactly. Rams and Cards. John Wolford starting as the Rams QB, and Cooper Kupp is out this week. Again, who's going to make the playoffs, Jeff? Who do you think out of these two?
I don't think the Rams can win the game. It's not Cooper Kupp's got COVID, Henderson's out, Wolford's is I don't know if they're scoring points. So I'm going to take the Cards.
Hey.
Right. Ramsey's got Nuke Hopkins in his back pocket all game long. I'm going Rams.
Ooh, Susanna.
I've been quite interested in the Cards this year. They've been up and down, but they've been interesting. They've got something to fight for. Cards.
Claire.
I think this is the most interesting matchup of this weekend. I'd like them both to tie so that the Bears automatically get through. I'm leaning towards the Cardinals. Just though, way for thin men.
Izzy?
I'm picking the Rams. Kyler Murray's also hurt for the Cardinals, and I just think the Rams have the better defense.
Got the best defense.
That's very interesting you say about that. We have seen the Rams defense neutralized this year. Obviously, the Niners did it, and other teams have as well. I want to say the Cards, but I don't know if they're through. I really don't know. I'm quite on the fence with it. I don't want the Rams to go in there. Well, I do because I want them to see him get waxed, and then again, the McVay is better than Shanahan, and all that crap comes up. But do you know what? I'll pick the Cards as well because I think this is going to be a real test of McVay this week, and it'll be interesting if he gets. Colts, Jags. Now, I've picked this one for obvious reasons in the AFC. Are the Colts going to lay an egg like they did last week, or do you think they're going to get the job done and hope they get favours from elsewhere? Is Jeff, are you frozen? Oh,
nope, Colts. Oh, I thought you were going to Pete first. Colts.
Sorry, man.
Colts. Pete?
Yeah, Colts to me all day long.
Susanna?
Much as I'd love for the Jags to beat the Colts and make it easier for me, the Colts have definitely beaten the Jags. yeah, easy answer for me.
Claire?
Yeah, Colts, they're going to leave a horseshoe-shaped print on the back of the Jaguars as they pull away.
Are we going round the horn and say, what do you think? Is he Colts or Jags?
Just because I don't think anyone else is going to pick them, I'm picking the Jaguars. They already have the first pick all locked up, so they can come out fighting. And wouldn't it be nice if they got to sweep their divisional rival?
Be an interesting game. I'm after last week. I don't know if you can trust the Colts really, because they came out in the second half against the Steelers and completely botched it. I think they got one third down conversion. Sorry, in the second half.
I think you'll find that's because the Steelers lit them up, mate. Nothing to do with the Colts. That was all the Steelers.
Oh, sorry, Randy Fitchner took a seat, unfortunately. I'm going to actually say the Jags pull a stunner off. Probably his last game. Who knows? Always got to pick an underdog at some point. The Titans versus the Texans. Now, again, seeding, etc. I think the Texans to me, I don't know if everyone's seen that video of JJ Watt last week on the after game thing, telling it like it is. I feel for the guy. I don't know what the hell's gone on with the Texans this year. And I think it's not interested on that team. Are they going to put it right next year? I don't think they've got enough picks to do it or free agents. It worries me that a quality QB like Deshaun is going to be wasted on this team, and he'll, a bit like the Chargers when we had Philip Rivers. This probably is Rivers last year with the Colts. Who knows? I'm worried that a lot of the talent of the NFL is going to get taken out because they're getting the shit kicked out of every week. And Deshaun Watson. I am going to pick the Titans, but it just worries me that we are going to start losing some of this talent because they get pissed off with having the shit kicked out of them every week. Their salary cap is high. It's bad. It's bad with somebody. Not Justin Field. The guy at San Diego. Not San Diego.
Justin Herbert.
But
The ones in San Diego.
even Christ. But we're going to lose all these talents because of shitty O-line and things like that, and lose it, and it's just bad. But I'm going to pick the Titans. Pete, who are you going for?
Claire, I just want to let you know I'm just muting your mic when you're not talking because we're getting a little bit of feedback from it. So just whenever you come on, just ping that button back on, yeah? Sweet. For me, Texans have been the biggest disappointment of everybody this year. They are my dark horse and they've really let me down. Losing to the Bengals, I know that's not a bad thing because the Steelers did it, but they're obviously on a bit of a run. Going for the Titans. The Titans, for me, they're such a solid team all over. I like the Titans. They're good. They win this easily.
Jeff?
Titans.
Titans, twice. So good you said it twice. Susanna?
It's obvious from me that I'd go with the Titans, but I agree with everything that's been said so far. And we're pretty solid, and we've got something to play for. Even if we didn't, we'd still be fighting because everything that everyone said about week 17 benching, when it comes to playing in our division, there is no way we give up a win opportunity. We would never do that. So we're coming out all guns blazing. We're going to put on a show.
Claire, unmute. Who do you think?
I think Titans, but the Texans are going to push them for it. They are not going to roll over. They are going to have to put a show on of some sort.
Izzy, who you got?
I got Jonnu Smith and the Titans. I've been a fan of them since Delaney Walker went there, so go Titans.
Cool. Right, this next one is going to be very close to Claire's heart. MVP possibly of the league. Aaron Rodgers led Packers versus the Bears. They did look really, really good the other night against the Titans. Unfortunately, Susanna, I'm sorry. It's a big game, Pete. Pete, obviously, playoff implications. The Bears need things to fall their way for them to get in. Who are you taking with this game?
Yeah, I think even though Aaron Rodgers is without his left tackle for this game, there's no way Mitch Trubisky beats Green Bay. It's got to be Green Bay tonight, all day long. Sorry, Claire. Really sorry, darling. Got to be Green Bay.
Jeff, who are you taking? A-Ron, Trubisky.
Green Bay.
Susanna?
I know this basically means that we're not friends until at least Wednesday. But I'm taking the Packers.
Claire, is Trubisky and everything going to fall in your lap for the Bears to get through to the
I mean,
playoffs?
they're going to check my Bears fan card when I say this. I'm probably going to vomit when it comes out of my mouth. I would put money on the Packers winning this. It's going to be horrible to watch. I'm going to paste 10K up and down in my tiny flat, hating every moment of it. But I want us to go down swinging. I do not want to go quietly into the night, but the smart money's on the Packers, sadly. Oh, God.
Claire, to be fair, either way, I think the Chicago team, in fact, you can hold your head up high this season. I think you've done well. I think you've had some players that have sort of come in and really looked good this year, and I actually sort of feel that you can progress. I think you've done really. I've enjoyed the Bears this year.
Obviously, Scott, bless him, this is Mr. Rodgers has been on the Kool-Aid because he thinks Rodgers chokes and Mahomes gets MVP. Yeah, good luck with that. Can I just say, Scott, you need to stick to the Tecmo Bowl, mate, at 3 a.m. because, yeah, something's going wrong there. Izzy, who you got?
I'm picking the Bears. Roquan Smith's been good. David Montgomery's finally running, and Packers have a flaw with the run game. I mean, we know that. We ran all over them in the NFC Championship game last year. And Aaron Rodgers doesn't have his big safety weapon in David Bakhtiari, so I'm going Bears.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Izzy. Very good point. But, they shut down King Henry last week, so it's actually going to be...
Okay, but that's the snow, and they always end up fighting hard in this snow. And this is a divisional opponent. That's completely different. I mean, we got swept by Josh Rosen in 2018, who only won 2 games versus the Cardinals. They lost every other game but that. Divisional games, Cincinnati beat the Steelers. You just can't just say, oh, well, because the Packers are better or whatever, or because they have Aaron Rodgers, they're just going to sweep the Bears away. The Bears have something to fight for. And Trubisky's been good the last few weeks. They have a shot.
It's the battle of the midway as well, and they're both used to that cold weather. So, yeah, you do bring up a valid point, but as much as I hate to say it, and did you know Aaron Rodgers grew up a 49ers
No,
fan?
don't. If I have to hear that one more time, oh my God. I had to not even watch pregame last year. Do you remember how many freaking hours they spent on that? Again, twice last year we played the Packers. Every year. Did you know that Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady grew up as Niner fans? They wanted to be Niner quarterbacks.
Great, isn't it? And what did we end up with? Alex Smith. Talking of Alex Smith, comeback player of the year. Book it now. If he doesn't win this, I am going to shave Pete's head. Washington
I'd rather beat Jason Verrett
versus the Eagles. I am going for my guy, number 11, somehow to game manage it through, dink and dunk his way through, get in the playoffs. And Washington football team, it'll be a great turnaround. You've got, obviously, Riverboat Ron, fought cancer. They started off putrid. They're in a shit division. But I really would love to see, I mean, even one and done in the playoff, just to see Alex Smith lead that team in the playoffs for everything he's been through. Come on, Alex. Time to shine. Pete, who are you taking?
Yeah, as much as we want that fairy tale ending for the Washington football team. Unfortunately, that this isn't a fairy tale, and I don't know if Alex Smith is playing. And I hate to say it, I think Washington get dumped out. I think Dallas sneak through with Eagles beating the Washington football team, and Dallas find a way to sneak in because it's just what happens. It sucks, but that's what I reckon. How about you, Jeff?
Washington.
Going Washington, good shout. Susanna?
I love a fairy tale, and the Alex Smith story is more than just a man going to the absolute limit. He was in a coma for 7 weeks, I think. Ridiculous story. So it's not even about him. I'm just going to call it Washington way for the sake of a good football game. Let's go that way.
Gibson looking good. How about you, Claire?
There you go, Claire.
Washington football. I'm guessing that's a Washington signal.
Yeah, I want to call my dad on Monday, who's in his 80s, and he's a fan of the team with no name. And I want to tell him that they've made it in.
Good stuff. Izzy, what's your call?
I'm going to feel guilty saying that after that, but I'm going to pick Philly. I think Jalen Hurts and that entire Philly team has to prove something at quarterback and bounce back after that last game against the Cowboys.
Good show. No idea where Nick's gone. He's got the schedule, but gives us a chance to have a chat with Jeff. I'm guessing the Spurs Leeds game's finished ages ago, so you can have a quick chat with us. So tell us what to expect on Sky Sports tomorrow, Jeff. What's the rundown? What are you going to be talking about?
Well, we've got the Steelers and the Browns in the first game, and then we've got the Cards and the Raps in the second game, and then we're going to take a look at the progressions that those two quarterbacks have and haven't made on the telestrator. So that'll be a good thing. Talk about the playoffs a lot, and obviously that's topical at this time of the year. And then I think we're going to touch a little bit on the draft a little bit for the first time as we start to look forward to who's going to take what, or who are the people out there. You watched the game last night. I don't know if you saw that Justin Fields threw 6 touchdown passes last night in a matchup against Trevor Lawrence and really played extremely well.
I think this is something that Nick wants to sort of get onto as well, sort of talking the sort of college football and the path to the draft. Nick, obviously you're back. Obviously Jeff just brought it up. Do you want to obviously go into the question that you were going to ask Jeff?
Yeah, sorry about that. I had the dog going nuts outside the bunker, so I had to go and
Nicely teed up, Jeff, by the way. It's almost like you're a pro.
My final question, obviously, before we get out of here, Jeff. I watched the 2 games, or I watched quite a lot, and I don't watch college football, so I'm not an expert, and I haven't watched either of the quarterbacks or any of them that have been on in these bowl games. But Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, who goes higher, would you say, in the draft?
Well, I think the consensus was before last night that it was going to be Trevor Lawrence, and by a pretty good margin. But then last night, I don't know if you watched it, Nick, Justin Fields threw 6 touchdown passes against Clemson and really played pretty well. Trevor outthrew him in terms of yards, but there's going to be some argument now in people's minds about who's I still think Trevor will go first, but I think Fields has closed the gap. There's a couple other guys that are out there. There's a guy named Wilson at BYU that's a good player, and a young kid named Trask at Florida that's coming I think is going to declare into the draft. And those guys are all potential first-round picks at quarterback. So it's a little deeper. Initially, everybody thought the quarterback pool was real shallow this year, but I think it's a little deeper than people give it credit for. And there's a kid at North Dakota State that a lot of people like. He's really raw, but he's pretty talented. So it's going to be interesting. As always the case, they're going to be probably 4 or 5 in the first round just because they're quarterbacks and everybody overdrafts quarterbacks.
Obviously interesting. Sorry, Nick, can I just ask Jeff a question there? Because obviously I know sometimes I know Joe Burrow got injured early on, but looking at Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert and who went first, on hindsight, do you reckon the right person's got picked first last year? So could it quite easily? It's the NFL. I guess it's different. It's hard to tell, right? How they adjust to the NFL game.
I think it's going to take anytime you, especially with quarterbacks, Pete. It really is the third year before you can really pass judgment on them, because there's so many things that play into it. Like, I thought Burrow did really well for what he had around him, and he was getting knocked around. He was getting beaten up so much, but he still you could see how good he was. And then Herbert really surprised everybody. I mean, Tyrod Taylor had his lung punctured by the team doctor. He probably would have never played all year, and then he comes in and lights it up. Tua's done what they've asked Tua to do, and he's functioned inside of what they need to win right now. Burrow and Herbert were more like, they're throwing it every down because they're what's around them. But I think all three of those guys are going to end up being good NFL quarterbacks, and that's when you get 3 out of 1 class. That's a pretty good year.
Like you said, it takes 3 years, and I suppose there's no good having these QBs coming, as we've seen, and they're not protected, and it shows, and it's horrible to see. So, is this going to be more? Which team is going to do better with either player? Is it going to be the Jags? Is it going to be the Jets? Because to me, it seems as though that maybe the sort of Jags are probably more geared up to whoever they pick. They're going to succeed because they've got a little bit more on the O-line. Is that right to say? Or
well, I tell you what, it's interesting, man. I talked to a guy who has interviewed for 3 of the 4 general manager jobs that are available right now, and one of those was Jacksonville, and he said he thought Jacksonville was the most attractive of those places. And they've got the most cap space. He feels like they've got some good young players, and so. Again, it's just going to be one of those deals. You get a guy like Herbert, and that's pretty good. It's a pretty good start.
Nick, sorry, buddy, I'm going to have to shoot off. So just before you guys carry on, can I just say thank you very much to Jeff today for joining us. As always, really appreciate your time. Susanna, thanks for joining us. Izzy, really nice to meet you. Phoebe, of course, was on earlier. It's great to finally meet Phoebe. And Claire, you are a friend now, so thanks again for joining us. But Nick, I'm going to have to shoot, mate. Thank you very much for another good show. And speak soon. Happy New Year to everybody, and enjoy week 17, everyone. Stay safe.
Appreciate you, Pete.
Thanks,
Go
man.
Browns. See you later, Pete. Yeah, it's very interesting. Just to finish off I've watched a few of the bowl games, obviously, over the holidays. And I thought Justin Fields last night looked, and that's the first time I've seen him, and I thought he looked amazing. And I thought he outshone Lawrence. I thought I don't know. As I say, he's on QB1 as well, which is a program that's on Netflix that I've just started watching. And I thought Justin Fields seems a really nice kid. He was obviously injured in that game last night, but he still came out slinging it, and I like that kid. Trevor Lawrence, I think he needs a haircut. This is obviously just first impressions. Trevor Lawrence needs a haircut, although he probably fit in well with Pete and his lifestyle, because obviously they, wash hair and condition and all things like that. Yeah, I like Justin Fields. Do I think they're going to win it all? Probably not. And that's the thing. Again, obviously, Jeff, I don't watch college. Why did Justin Fields' team only have a 6-0 record where the other team were 10-1? Is that because COVID stopped them playing, or what was that? Because I don't get all of the way the college goes.
Well, each of the conferences came in at different times. Like, the SEC and the ACC were the first to play, so they played the most. They had the most weeks available to play, and the Big Ten Big Ten originally was not going to play at all, and then they came in late, and the same thing happened with the Pac-12. So those schools didn't get as many games in under their belt just because they were late getting into the season because of COVID. Excuse me.
Right, so that's the reason why those. Okay, that's cool. So, if you were sitting at number 1,
Uh-huh.
Would you take a quarterback? And if you were, who would you take, Lawrence or Fields, based on what you've seen?
Well, first of all, I haven't watched them close enough to make us, to say that I think the guy's a first round guy. First pick in the draft. Basic tenet is if you take a player in the first round, he should be a Hall of Famer when his career's over with, right? He should be a gold jacket guy. Now, are those guys gold jacket guys? I don't know. You look at the success rate of first round quarterbacks, Nick, in the last 15 years, and it's not real good. And part of that's because it's the most important position in the game, so that they get overvalued in the draft, and you take a guy in the first round that probably is a third round player, but you take him because he's the best quarterback available. And, that's how you get into trouble when you take a guy that can't get it done. And so now look at the Jets. Here we are 3 years later, they're looking at taking another first round quarterback. That's hard to do. If you keep making mistakes on first rounders at that position, it's a bad deal.
Well, eventually you get it right. Maybe Cleveland have got it right with Baker Mayfield this weekend. Obviously, we'll see whether that's true.
I'm going to tell you something. He ain't out of the woods, because I looked at every game of his this year, and there are some things he does really well, but Stefanski has to coach around him. He's got to, he's got some liabilities too that a first rounder shouldn't have, right?
Definitely. You can see he's got flaws. It's unlike Mahomes that comes in and just lights everything up. And you see the bonehead plays that Mahomes makes are very few and far between.
I think too, the other thing is Mahomes had a real advantage that Baker never had, is that number one, he's had the same system his whole career. And secondly, he didn't have to come in and play. He didn't have to be the face of the franchise the first year he was there. He played like one game, I think, that first season. So when you look at it like that, like Baker comes in and, they go from one head coach to the next head coach. This is his third head coach and his fourth coordinator. So that's hard to do when you're just trying to learn the league.
What do you think, Susanna? If you were the GM sitting with the first overall pick, you've got all of the QBs that are out there, Trask, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, whoever. Who would you take a punt on anyone, or are you picking to help your franchise overall? So maybe an O-lineman. There's talk that the Jets aren't going to draft a quarterback. They're going to go for the best O-lineman and help Sam Darnold maybe next year, because I don't think Adam Gase is going to be there, but who knows? It's a crazy league, and we all know what a fuck up the Jets are. What are you going to do, Suzanne?
This is a tough question, because I don't watch the draft all that much, but when I have, it's just been a complete mind-bending puzzle, because you see teams taking players that you're looking at going, what are you going to do with that guy? They're not right for you. You don't need that. You need this. Your defense is shit. Do something with that. They take a quarterback, and you're like, the quarterback's great. Your offense is fantastic. Why are you taking But what those GMs are doing is a number of different things. So like Jeff said, they're thinking about what they're going to need in 4 to 7 years, so they can get that quarterback in, build him up, get him into their regime, transitioning him into the NFL before he has to be that focus of attention. They might be thinking about what can they get in to sort of just change things a little bit around that we can't quite see. But yeah, it's one of those where we, the fans, love to speculate on, we think it's like just playing cards or something. It's not. But what I was thinking about when you guys were chatting was what it would be like to be those players. And I tell you what, I would never want to be that 1 or 2 quarterback. I'd want to be the 3rd quarterback that is not getting any of this heat. But it's just as good as those other guys, or could be as good in the right place. But they're kind of more likely to end up in the right place first because they're not getting any of this focus.
The pressure on these guys, Lawrence, Fields, maybe the top 5 QBs that are coming out this year. The pressure is immense, and I wouldn't want to be in that position because, like we saw with the Jets and Garner, they put everything on him, and he hasn't, I don't think, produced yet. But then he hasn't had the line. Same with Joe Burrow. It's a tough one. What do you think? I mean, regarding the Niners, we all know the talk that they're going to dump Garoppolo, and there's no way. Sorry, 49ers fans. I honestly don't think we draft a quarterback in the 1st round, and we're not going to trade up to get Justin Fields or whoever. It's not going to happen. I just can't see it. That's not how the front office has worked. What do you think? Do you think Garoppolo's done, and from some miracle, or I don't know, John Lynch falls off a cliff, bangs his head, and all of a sudden he wants to take a QB in the 1st round? What do you think?
I think Shanahan's the real GM, and Shanahan, every single year since he's been here, his 1st overall pick has been a lineman, whether it's the 3 defensive linemen and Solomon Thomas and Nick Bosa and Javon Kinlaw, or it was Mike McGlinchey. Every single pick was, 1st one was a lineman. I don't know if that trend breaks or not. I don't. But I do know that Garoppolo and Kyle is not a long-term solution because Kyle does not trust him. The fan base doesn't want him, and it's been a nightmare the last year and a half.
So you don't think we are gonna? You can't see the trend where all of a sudden they mortgage the team on getting a.
Like he doesn't trade up for the 1st pick. He usually trades down for the 1st pick, and then he makes a pick, and then maybe he sneaks in and gets another pick. That's just based off of what these 2 have done so far for the Niners. And like I said, every year since he came here in 2017, he's always picked a lineman. It started with Solomon Thomas. It then went to McGlinchey, and went back to Bosa, then went to Kinlaw. All linemen, 3 defensive guys. I would like a quarterback, but personally, I don't see them breaking Shanahan's thing of what he always wants to build up against, which is a lineman.
I mean,
I
think we're gonna go maybe cornerback or someone defensive in the 1st round.
But they haven't helped out the secondary at all. We don't have a safety. We don't have cornerbacks. And now the fan base is all like, let's bring back Sherman. But Sherman hasn't even done anything this year. He's been injured, and then he's taking pot shots at the team again. Like he's a Hulk again.
I think Sherman is probably gone this year. I think maybe safety cornerback in the 1st round. I don't know. But anyone that the Niners are drafting a quarterback, I'm really sorry to break it to you. If that happens, I would probably fall off a cliff if that happened. And
all I know is Trevor Lawrence is going to have a really hard time to whoever he goes to, because most likely they're going to be like Joe Burrow where they can't protect him. And if he struggles after that whole controversy in New York where they were talking about how you might go back to school to avoid getting picked by the Jets 1 overall when they had no wins at all, that's going to put an extra helping pressure on him like no other quarterback.
Yeah, I mean the expectation of all of these top tier quarterbacks this year, Jeff, is going to be probably a lot more than these guys have ever faced. Because obviously the top tier quarterbacks go to the best college teams. And you know, if I'm Trevor Lawrence and I'm thinking, shit, I might go to Jacksonville, who might suck for the next 3 years because they don't give a shit about playing or whatever. I mean, how does that feel, Jed? I mean, put yourself in their position. Would you just be happy to get drafted into the NFL, or are you thinking, shit, I'm going to get killed behind this O-line, or I've got no receivers, or I've got no running game, or are you just happy that you've made the pros?
I think that's a kind of an individual thing, and you know, those guys are so competitive, and they've been so good for so long. I remember those guys probably been the best player that's on the field since the first time they picked up a football. So their belief in their ability to win, no matter where they go, I think is pretty strong. And you know, I really think that the thing that Pete, that I talked to Trent Dilfer one time, and he told me that, I said, what was it like to go into be a first round pick and go in and have to be the face of the franchise, and you know, he was going to save Tampa Bay and all that. He said, nobody can understand the enormity of the position, playing the position in the NFL level, and not just playing the position, like the physical part of playing the position, the mental part, the expectation, the pressure. You're the face of the franchise. You got all that stuff on top of you. And he said he didn't handle it very well. And you know, he's not the only guy that struggled with those expectations. So you're right, it's huge, it's gigantic. But you know, I'm sure that, you know, they recognize, well, it also is, you know, you're an instant millionaire. Your family, your kids' family, and their kids' families should be fine based upon the amount of money that you'll make over your career. So there's some serious benefits to it too. I got to run, man. It's
I literally was just about to close up with that, Jeff. So Jeff, as ever, the Shank Club loves you. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
DM me that recipe for that seafood risotto.
I'll do it. Izzy, great to meet you.
Good to meet you too. Happy New Year.
All right, Happy New Year. Aloha, you guys.
Take care.
Looking forward to that dinner invite.
Yeah, well, I know where his hotel is, Susanna, so it's not difficult to find him.
We're not allowed out, are we? So when we are.
No, I would never divulge that. I want to thank everyone that came on today. I know it was early when you got up, Izzy. We really appreciate you coming on. New Jersey in the house. Go Niners. Let's beat those Seahawks, because I can't not. I'm getting the knots in my stomach, even though it's a meaningless game for the Niners.
It's never meaningless. It's the Hawk game.
No, honestly, look, we're in the New Jersey Heat. A meaningless game in the season for the Niners.
It's not meaningless. You get to watch Kerry Hyder. You get to watch these guys play for one more week. And we may not even send them back. So I want to see Jason Verrett, who I think if Alex Smith didn't have that big publicized thing where they showed off all the video of his leg and everything else, would have been comeback player of the year. So for me, I want to watch this game.
See, now that shut me up, Susanna, and that takes a lot.
Yeah, that's it, Nick. Yeah, I think you've got the match.
Good luck to everyone this week. Hope
it's nice to meet you.
Unless, of course, you are the
Good luck to your Titans.
Oh, thanks.
Good luck to Titans. Good luck to everyone. Claire, thanks for coming on. Phoebe, Jeff, Pete, everyone. This has been the Shank Club NFL. I'm freezing my ass off. I'm going in. Take care, everyone. And we will be back next week. I'm lining up a special wildcard weekend The Steelers are going to go one and done, hopefully, because I hate that team. And I will win another bet against Pete, which is always good. This is a Shank Club NFL. My name's Nick. Take care, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Take care.